Yes, so Glen Cook's my name. I'm a firefighter, or coming to the end of my career as a firefighter. Well, I suppose really from there, we were there in the early days. I was only about 20, I think, when we started. So Ian Corbett was starting up a team, and we just went out. I had no idea what I was going into or anything. Never played netball, just like playing sport. And so we just landed. But at that days, it was a little association tied up at Banksia Park, and it just kind of grew. Just sort of landed in it, and then the association just naturally grew. So for me, it was really about starting off with the club, then the national clubs came along, and then they introduced state, and then from there it evolved into an Australian team and the Tasman Cup, and that's really it. We didn't know what we were going into, with these trips, and we just had fun with it. No precedent, no, we didn't know, and there was no real vision with it per se. We didn't have a plan. We were just going for the ride really, and as the next door opened and we went another level up, it just became what it is. Oh yeah, there's always that stigma. I mean, even now at work, I would say, so for example, when I first left school, I started nursing at the RA, so my spreadsheet looks to a bunch of firefighters, right? A little bit different, but I don't get too much stick really. It was a stigma, wearing bibs. But I didn't worry about it too much. It never bothered me because I was just having fun playing a game with some friends. It was just, and everyone else in adjoining courts were all looking the same, so it didn't really matter. The first thing I remember was getting to Geelong. We touched on that a little bit, and getting into that stadium and seeing all the clubs there. That was the first time for us as Salisbury West, as a club, to realise, one, that there was so many others involved in the sport nationally, but also it gave us the opportunity to kind of really test ourselves about, where do we stand in amongst this big picture. And it was just lovely. It was just a great trip just to get there. It had a great atmosphere, and so I have fond memories of that. But then, of course, rolled on from that was the state team, and then we did our first state. And so a lot of the travel, really, I suppose, that came with it. Even here in South Australia, we ended up we were trying to promote the sport. We took it on the road a little bit, just through regional areas, and did exhibition games. And they were a lot of fun, especially the bus trips coming home. But I would say, without looking at one particular event, I would say as we went through that journey, it was all good fun. Or just as you would expect, doing anything like that, team travel and that's always good. There's lots of little funny stories with it. And being young, I think too, you're just a bit naive, and it's just fun. I don't know that I wasn't conscious of really it per se. It's just typical. Everyone kind of does it, I think. We all just do something. It's not till retrospectively you look back and think, oh, I can't believe I did that. That was good. So Mark was a goal defender for Salisbury West. So he and I worked in the pocket. We worked in that goal circle. And we were Salisbury West players, we were state players, and we were Australian players. So we just knew each other so well. And the combination, we could move around that circle and interchange with goalies without having to say anything. We just understood the circle and the play. So Mark was my favourite. Yeah, if I had to pull one out, they were all good, but of course centre players do their bit and goalies at the other end do their bit. But for defenders in that circle, our job was to actually minimise the percentages. So if our goalies could shoot their goals, they did their job, and Mark and I could reduce their percentage of goalies, then we were doing our job. But I really enjoyed playing with Mark because we had that silent understanding. We just knew how to work the court. And because I was a goalkeeper, often I got the tall timber, so that my challenge was really listening to Corby, what he, how he wanted me to adjust my game or something like that. So my focus was on actually just beating my opponent, however I needed to do that. So I didn't really get too personal with them. Yeah, well, I must admit, I haven't really followed it through since I stopped playing too much, but I now look at what's happening here, like you mentioned about the Super League and stuff like that, and I think it's just fantastic. In the early days when we started, our hope, I suppose for me anyway, I didn't really have a very long vision plan, unlike Ian Corbett and Kay Portalesi. But being involved in those early years with the working committee too, for me as a player, my focus was really to try and secure the foundation that we created, to just solidify it. And the way I thought we could do that was The Banksia Park thing was fine, but if we wanted to do more, we needed to hook up with SANA, which is the old South Australian Netball Association, which is now, I think, Netball SA. So I thought we needed to try and tap in with that to secure it, and that would actually help potentially support us with resources and funding as well. But as a player too, I thought the other advantage of that would be to bring it into central courts in the city, which would then broaden the base and maybe attract a broader player group. And that was my focus really more at that point in time, was to actually enhance the growth. I thought if the game was going to go anywhere, we needed to have that base. But that was about as far as I thought about it. So now, of course, I look at it and what's happening with the men's netball and everything that you've picked up and you're doing yourself, Steve. I think it's fantastic. It's now, the opportunities there for people. It's a recognised sport within itself. So it's, any advancement in it, and if it can attract spectators and also other potential players to the game, it's fantastic. So the higher the level, the more attractive it becomes, I think. I think it's fantastic. Whatever growth occurs, and things change, as we both know. Everything evolves in different ways. And some things that were when we were there aren't now, such as the national clubs, that sort of stuff. So the whole game evolves, but it's all good, I think. Any evolution is good. Just a nice top. Nothing too exciting, but it was very comfortable. They were very comfortable, and they were warm too. So they cut out the wind and stuff like that. So yeah, that was we had a lot of fun in my day, and it was only pioneering days. We didn't know what we were doing, but now to come in and have a set format and a strong foundation, it's just great for players that want to come in and do it. They don't have to break any barriers necessarily, or you don't have those hurdles. So when we were trying to get started, embed ourselves in with SANA, that was quite challenging, because we were coming in on a very traditional leadership group with SANA, and it was strong. It was all about the women playing the sport. So for us guys trying to break into that, they weren't too pleased about it. So we had that as a barrier. We had a lot of stuff to overcome. But no, look, I appreciate what you're doing, Steve. Honestly, I just think what you're doing is fantastic. It's often you see people pick up the reins on things for a very short period of time, but you obviously got a passion for it, and you've picked it up, and you're doing even this sort of stuff, creating the history on it, and making sure that's secure and stuff like that. It's really good. It's what keeps it going. It's what holds it instead, And without that, I think things eventually, whatever they're created, eventually crumbles. You need someone that can actually, refresh it, harden that packing, and rebuild on it. So it's good what you're doing. I think it's great. A lot of people are going to get the benefit out of it. It's a lot of